We have another wild Spurs offseason update as we have an insider that just revealed a key detail about Kevin Durant, once again linking him to the San Antonio Spurs. And I know a lot of you are fired up about this. I am too. We'll be talking about that in just a minute and breaking down exactly what was said. But also, we got to dive into some pretty significant draft updates as there's a recent update between the Spurs and Raptors in the draft standings. It's very important for us. And also a little note on the Atlanta Hawks. We got a bunch of great stuff coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. And look, we're going to start with the draft. And the draft is the big thing that a lot of us are waiting for. Because again, we're talking about capture the flag season. It's still very possible. Cooper Flag looks absolutely unbelievable. As a lot of us know, anyone that's been watching March Madness, he is the guy that's going to go first overall. There's no secrets, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But could it be the San Antonio Spurs? Honestly, yeah, it absolutely could be. And as the days go by, it's actually looking more and more likely. And last time I did one of these updates, it seemed like the Spurs were far from getting anywhere near that top 5. And while top 5 still seems a little out of reach, now, after only 74 games played with 8 games to go, the San Antonio Spurs are now just 3.5 games difference from the Toronto Raptors, as the Raptors have been on a big winning streak. They've won 4 in a row as of the recording of this video. The Spurs have lost 4 in a row. Of course, this being recorded before the game versus the Orlando Magic. This has huge implications for the Spurs draft odds because, number one, you look at that, the percent chance of getting a top 4 pick, which honestly in this draft is huge. The top 3 is kind of the big 3 a lot of people are talking about. Flag, Harper, and Bailey, with some other guys falling down. Tre Johnson kind of falling down a bit. Concanuple's my boy. I really want him to go to the Spurs if we do end up picking him around 7 or 8 or wherever it is. But it's not so much about picking either 7th or 8th because really we just want one of those top 3 picks. And if we can somehow leapfrog the Raptors, again, I don't want to advocate for losing, but let me know your guys' thoughts. When you see this, you see the Raptors on a big winning streak, the Spurs on a big losing streak at this point in the season, you can't help but think, hey, maybe this will do the team some good longer term. Again, I'm not advocating for losing, but we've had some injuries, we've had some players playing well, some players playing not so well. Of course, Wemby out, Fox out. If there's any time to get a good draft pick, it's right now. And again, the chance at number 1 overall from 8th to 7th jumps 1.5%, which doesn't seem that big, but anything matters. Seriously, again, getting near that top 5, probably not going to happen, but going from 8th to 7th could actually be huge for the Spurs. So let me know your thoughts on this down below. Are you Team Tank? I think a lot of people are Team Tank. I always like to watch the Spurs and see them win, because honestly, watching these games like Spurs versus Warriors, it just gets tiring at some point. It's tiring for you, it's tiring for me. I love watching our boys, but there's something missing from the team right now, and it's not just Pop, it's not just Wemby, it's not just Fox, it's not just, all these guys progressing. There's just an electricity that's only there for certain spurts, but I can't wait to see what's coming with a fully healthy team next year. But I'm not just focusing on the Raptors versus Spurs right here, because we got to talk about the Atlanta Hawks. While this pick earlier in the season, it was in the lottery. The Hawks were not doing too hot. They've been playing great. Zachary Ricochet has been climbing his way up the Rookie of the Year leaderboards, which Stephon Castle will still win. He should still win. Sure hope so. Ricochet's been playing great, though. You can't deny that. The dude's had a couple 30-point games this year. He's been awesome. And he's been helping the Hawks a little bit. They're 6-4 in their last 10. But right now, the Hawks, they were pretty solidly out of the lottery for the last little while, and they were in the lottery earlier in this season, but now it's closer than ever. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks, of course, 4-6 in their last 10, the Hawks and Magic 6-4, but you look at those records, the Hawks are just 1 game difference here between Orlando and Dallas. Actually, look, 37-39, it's basically the same winning percentage. The Mavericks have just played 2 more games than the Hawks, and they have 1 more win, 1 more loss. It is totally possible for the Atlanta Hawks to still get a lottery pick, which is something that, we've been hoping for all season, of course. And look, we still got Hawks picks in the future, so even if it's not this year, whatever. But they do look like they're getting better. Of course, Keldon Johnson is going to be back next year. Zachary Ricochet is going to keep getting better. Trae Young is Trae Young. But right now, this is what I'm paying attention to. It's not just the Spurs games. The fight for the end of the lottery is crucial for the Spurs draft odds right now with the Hawks. So keep an eye on the Hawks games, not just the Spurs games, because this is going to matter a ton going down the stretch. 2 chances in the lottery. That not only will that 1.5% at the number 1 overall pick help a lot if the Spurs can overtake the Raptors, but having that extra little odd there with the Atlanta Hawks jumping in, adding that 0.5% chance at the number 1 overall pick, that extra 2.4% chance at the top 4 could really be helpful. But we got to transition really quick to Kevin Durant. I know Are you tired of it yet? Well, look, you know what? I'm kind of tired because I don't really see why he would go to the Spurs. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know my opinion on it. But I can't deny there's been talks and talks and talks and talks about this, and I'm starting to maybe sway myself. But before you get all upset and talking about Kevin Durant again, I want you to leave your thoughts, yes, no, in the comments down below. But hear me out, okay? Let's take a look at what we have out there right now, just because, again, it's not just me saying should we not. This comes from NBA Central. The San Antonio Spurs could target Kevin Durant to form a big three with De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, per Brett Siegel. This comes from Clutch Points. Quote, there have been whispers among league personnel about the possibility of the Spurs pursuing Durant and creating the best offensive trio in the league next to Fox and Wembanyama. And, you know, again, I've made it known, and I think a lot of you guys know as well, that this is probably not the best idea, depending on the trade package we'd have to send out for 1 year of Kevin Durant, who now just once again hurt himself. I think he's only out for like a week. As far as I know, he rolled his ankle pretty badly. But, like, you know, maybe that's just lowering his trade value for the offseason, coming off an ankle injury, you know? But the fact that we're hearing this day after day, now it's not just the Spurs linked in this, by the way. There was Timberwolves, there was, the Warriors, there was other teams as well. But there's always these whispers about the Spurs, and the Spurs like to stay close to the chest. We don't usually know what's going on until it's done. Of course, we heard the Fox rumors, but that was loud and proud, it felt like. Kevin Durant, look, we all know what he brings, 27 points a game, $56 million on the books next year, but with these new little folds, these wrinkles in the fold of 10% bump in the salary cap, it actually makes this move a little more palatable than it was before. And diving into the actual article talking about what the Spurs could do, again, credit Brent Siegel, Clutch Points, go check out the article. I'll link it down below for you anyway. He mentions, like, look, Devin Vassell's a young talent who has come up early in early conversations about trade candidates around the NBA this offseason, not just in terms of Kevin Durant, just in general, moving out Devin Vassell, because who's to say that Kevin Durant's the Spurs' only target, right? This is another big thing. Like, the Spurs could be after someone else, and Vassell's one of those guys that we could absolutely dangle because, like, he hasn't been having a great year, but we know what he can be, and we've seen his really good performances this year. He had a career-high 30-odd points one game, right? He's had a few nice 20-point games. Again, the efficiency needs to come up a bit, but it has as the season's gone on. Anyway, back to this. There's a lot to like about the 24-year-old wing. He'll be entering year 2 of a good 5-year extension, and again, it's below $30 million a year. It's about 27. He's yet to break out. I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, I think he's kind of broken out. I mean, the dude can put up, look, unless you're expecting him to put up 25 a game, I guess he's, yet to break out. I don't know. I think his peak is somewhere around that 20, 21, 22 points per game, but I think he's only getting that on a team that can afford to get him a lot of shot opportunities, which is not something the Spurs can do with Fox, Wembanyama, and potentially someone like Kevin Durant. Vassell would be relegated to that kind of, I don't know if he'd be a six man. I think he's a starter, but that kind of third, fourth option, which is not somewhere where he's going to be able to get his 20 points per game. So if he can improve that efficiency back to being one of the best corner three-point shooters in the league, I think he could fit on the Spurs. And if he accepts that kind of role, but otherwise, he is one of those great guys that you can dangle in a trade for a superstar, whether it's Kevin Durant or not, because we know Vassell in the right situation can put up incredible numbers, and he can be a valuable player. His defense is really not that bad. He is, over his career, been one of the best corner three-point shooters in the league. Yes, this year his efficiency has been down a little bit, but he's one of those guys that, like, at this point, especially with the emergence of Stephon Castle, I think a lot quicker than any of us would have expected. I mean, you go back, like, he looked good in Summer League, whatever, but would any of you have predicted Stephon Castle to look as good as he has this season, this early? I mean, basically, not pushing Vassell out, but making his case to play over Vassell some nights because of the intensity that Castle brings on the defensive end as well. Again, they bring different things because Castle's not quite the level of shooter that Vassell is yet. He can't create as well off the dribble, but he's a better finisher. Well, he's better at slashing to the rim in traffic, I would say, though Vassell's still pretty good at that. But anyway, I digress. Right now, it makes Vassell a little more expendable. So whether it is for a guy like Kevin Durant, whether it is for another star, you could very well see Devin Vassell on the move. So while this is a Kevin Durant update, it's just making me wonder what the Spurs could be up to. The fact that they're in on these big names. We already moved for Fox, right? We're already looking here towards the offseason and Kevin Durant. There could be other names, free agents or trade targets or otherwise. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is there someone else other than Kevin Durant you'd want to target? Would you trade Vassell? I think he seems to be that guy that just fits the bill of more tradable piece. Him and Keldon Johnson are these guys that like you could kind of live without that still would have very high trade value. So let me know your thoughts down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching every single day. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.